Good solutions, good services, good products aren't enough. What you need is a good origin story behind them. Why do you think that the companies that we engage with most are more successful? Because they have good stories behind everything that they do. Facts and credentials aren't enough. A good story creates an emotional connection that, like I say, facts and credentials just can't match. So, in the next 10 minutes, I want to set out 10 minutes or so. I want to set out a system, a framework, if you like, that helps you uncover the structure of your origin story in a way that will resonate with the people you want to talk to, and it won't feel like you're showing off either. So, here we go. You start with your timeline, your life timeline, basically, because we are the sum of all the things that we've done in our lives. There are things that you probably did years and years ago, maybe even at school, things you learned at school that are relevant to what you do now, but you don't necessarily think that it's important. So, take your weapon of choice, be it a big sheet of paper, a spreadsheet, or a Word document. I mean, I like to use a Trello board. And you'll divide your life up into 5-year chunks. And I'm including your school life here. You could perhaps take your school life as one big chunk. But that is the time where you learnt the most. You're in peak learning mode. That's kind of the purpose of school. So for every one of those 5 years, you're going to write down what you were doing during those 5 years. You're going to write down what you learned. Who were your teachers, your mentors, things like that? Who were your enemies? What problems did you face? What problems did you solve? Now, the advantage of doing something like that is, firstly, it will give you one big chunk of stories that you can tell. One big chunk of things you can talk about in your content afterwards. But it will also poke in the eye that notion that you've done nothing in your life. Because believe you me, you have, whatever you think. Step 2 is to find the patterns. Now this is probably best done with somebody else, to whom you are not related, with whom you are not in a romantic relationship. Because to be quite honest, they're just like you, they are too close to you, to your story. Then you're going to try and connect the dots. I'll give you an example. This is probably the best way of doing it here. Is that me, for now, I'm a copywriter. I've been a translator. That affects the way I do the copywriting. Believe you me, speaking another language or a couple of other languages changes the way you look at the world. I've been a travel agent in the past, which is where I learned how to build relationships with people. Many years ago, more than 40 years ago, I've got a degree in history, but that's when I learned how to work out what's important, what's not important, see trends, interpret things, skills that I still use today, quite a lot, in fact. And I could really take it right back to when I was a kid in the 60s. And we went to Spain a lot. We went on holiday. We went on the train through France and Spain. And that's when the 5, 6, 7-year-old me learnt that other languages existed. Kids spoke other languages. So ask yourself, what problems have you been consistently solving over the years? What values have guided you in those decisions? And what unique perspective did your experiences give you? Because your story is the only thing you've got which is unique, the only thing you've got that no one can take from you, and the only thing that no one can imitate. The third stage is putting it all together in a story-like formula. Now, you're going to start with before. That means the starting point, your original assumptions, the problem, if it comes to it. Then the trigger, because every story has a trigger, otherwise it's just an anecdote. What was the realization that you made that made you change direction? I've got one particular thing that happened to me during COVID. I realized I had a story to tell, and that put me on this path, because before I was just a jobbing copywriter, hardly putting up any trees. Now I suddenly realized, whoa, I've got something to say. And my mission now is to tell you and everybody you ever speak to that they have something to say as well. There is an audience that is interested in what you have to say. Stage 3 of this is the struggle. What authentic challenges did you face along the way? Because again, there's no story without a challenge. The fourth part is the discovery. What what approach have you developed as a way of getting through those challenges? And then finally, and the most important, is where's the transformation? What's the happy ever after, if you like? How does this change benefit your clients? It'd be a great idea to focus on the turning points, because they're the most interesting bits in any story. And how do those turning points, those lessons, the things you learn, benefit your clients? Because that's what they are. That's what they are. They're looking to do. They're looking to recognize themselves. There's a few things you shouldn't do. You shouldn't make yourself the hero of the story, because you are not. Your client, your prospect is the hero. You are the guide. You are the one with the solution. You're not the one with the problem in it. You might have had the problem in the past, but you are not the one with the problem. You are the one with the solution. Secondly, don't overshare details that aren't relevant, because your clients want you to get to the point. There's nothing wrong with showing things that lead you to the point afterwards, but it's easy to get distracted. In this kind of exercise, you need to stay hyper-focused. Don't worry about all your struggles either. As long as your struggles are relevant to what became, I mean, if it's something you're slightly ashamed of, well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, because people want to relate to people like them, and they've had all those problems. So there's no point in sugarcoating it and sanitizing it. They want the real, authentic stories. Don't also tell the same story regardless of your audience. And what I mean by that is, you don't necessarily need to tell the same story in a face-to-face situation, for example, or on LinkedIn or on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you do your storytelling. The different audiences will likely want different things. Your story is always the answer to an implicit question: how are you qualified to help me? There's an expression that copywriters that always love, is that what we are doing is that we are trying to join the conversation our prospects are already having in their heads. The trick, of course, is to find out what the conversation is. That's the subject of another video. So to bring it all together, here's what you can do. Summarize it in, let's say, nothing more than a minute for use at networking events. You probably shouldn't even need a minute to get all this into some kind of concise message. Try it out on your friends, your family even, actually. But your clients are probably the best, because they know what it's like to work with you. Adapt your story to the different platforms you're going to use. Different platforms require different audiences. Maybe even there's a difference between online and offline as well, depending on what your audience is and what your demands are. As a ninja trick, is to record yourself. Just pick up your phone and record your or even the entire story, but particularly your pitch. It will help you integrate it completely, because this it shouldn't be difficult. It's part of you. You know this stuff already. You just haven't got it out and put it in a legible format for everybody else. But as long as you can answer the question, well, what do you do, in a succinct way that actually inspires conversation afterwards, then you are most of the way there. So here's what we've kind of gone over. Your story, your product, your service, as good as it is, and I've no doubt it is wonderful, it's not enough. You need a convincing story to go with it, because that's what your clients will engage with. You're joining the conversation your prospects are already having in their heads. So your homework, if you like, is to draft your origin story within this framework and practice the hell out of it so you know it backwards. Remember, what you think is ordinary and boring is somebody else's extraordinary. Because the life you lead is your life. It's mundane to you. It's your everyday, but it's not to somebody else. You have the solution to somebody else's problem, and from that point of view, you are extraordinary. Share in the comments, if you like, what you think of this. If you found it useful, like and subscribe, and all do all the YouTubey type of things. I've also shared a link to my little workbook about how to build your story. It'll just help you along the way. So, like I say, if you found some value in this, I love you, and I will see you next time.